Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you. Now, there is a lot going on in podcasting this week. Apple has not announced video podcasting. They've re-announced video podcasting because they've been doing video podcasting forever. They just hid it from you. They just thought, nope, nothing to see here. And they've kind of just made video podcasts kind of like second-class content on their own app. Yet they have all the technology to make video podcasting a reality. They just thought, hey, who cares? And apparently now somebody pushed a button somewhere, but now they care. And they've come out with this spectacular conversation starter in podcasting. And if you want to know who your friends are and you want to know who you need to be careful around, you just bring up video podcasting and watch the fun explode. Because, wow, I listen to a lot of podcasts about podcasting because I have a job and I work overnights and I get to listen to a lot of shows. And I even listen to shows I don't agree with. And I'm going to talk about some of them here. And some of these creators we wouldn't get along probably because of some of the hard takes they have and some of the nasty things they say on their show make me really squirm a little bit because I don't want this show to be a show where my listeners have to squirm because something I say. So I'm always trying to be an anti-bubble person. Okay, everybody going to hear today, because I'm going to have some clips from other shows, they live in a bubble. And the bubble protects you, and the bubble is safe, and the bubble means that other people and their opinions aren't allowed in. This podcast is bubble-free. I want to break and pop all those bubbles one at a time. And let's get into the content, because I think we need to have a conversation around Apple, specific to Apple users, specific to Android users like me. I don't own a single Apple product, never have, probably never will. I've never listened to a podcast on Apple Podcasts. So there's those people. So there's that part of the conversation. And then as well, the whole idea about how we talk to each other and how we interact with each other. And maybe there's something we can agree on. Maybe. So I'm glad you're here. Let's get into this. This is going to be very interesting. So my encouragement for you as we kind of go through this today, I'm going to pull out little clips from what I've been listening to this week. And I'd encourage you to go listen to the entire episode of all of the clips that we're talking about. Links in the show notes. They're pod links because that's the best way to share links, because then you have a choice instead of me sending you to Apple. Thanks, but I don't go there, so don't send me to Apple. So I have pod link because it's better. And there you go. I got a bubble. Dave, you're in a bubble. Okay, well, I'm in a bubble. So I use Podlink, pod.link. Simple, easy way to share your podcast and give the person you're sending your link to a choice, because choice matters, apparently. So go to Podlink. I have links for all the episodes in order in the show notes. Go there, check on them, and you'll see what we're talking about. So when I listen to these shows, I'm hearing some people who are very adamant about their beliefs around video podcasts. And it's kind of a line in the sand moment here in podcasting that's been kind of coming for a while. With Apple and with YouTube and with Spotify, you're seeing a lot of podcast hosting sites and podcast apps and listening apps and viewing apps kind of trying to stake their flag in the dirt going, this is a podcast. There's even conversations about what is a podcast, podcast has been around for years. And people are still trying to define it, which is very interesting. I can tell you that what you're listening to right now is a podcast, just so you know, if you want a point of reference, because it's called the How to Podcast series. So I feel like we need to talk about this from a more higher level than being so attached to the announcement that we have blinders on and we trample on some of the people who may be listening or watching, however you do podcasts. So here we go. Now, the first one, this is interesting because this isn't a podcast I would send many people to. I listen to it, but I listen to it because I'm almost getting the opposite of my view on things. And we've talked about this, that as podcasters, we need to open ourselves up to different voices. By opening ourselves up to different voices, it gives us the opportunity to learn and maybe pick up on some of the things where we're missing. We don't know what we don't know. And if we only focus on what we love and talk to the people that think like us, then I think we're missing a huge blind spot. Okay? So this is a show that I would not normally send you to. There's for many reasons, and I'm not going to talk somebody down right now, but this isn't a show I would recommend really in this podcast. But this podcaster has a lot of great points and some not great moments as well. So we're going to kind of jump in. I'm going to pull a couple clips. I would encourage you, though, for context, go and listen to the entire episode for this creator, because I think we owe that. We can't make a judgment based on the clips that I pull. I'm not going to pull everybody's episodes because this would be like a 10-hour podcast episode. So let's just go and support the podcaster and listen, and you make up your own mind. I'm not here to tell you what to think. But here's the first, and I just want to kind of jump in and share my thoughts as we go. So here we go. So first is Neil. He's in the UK, and you'll tell by his accent very quickly that he's from the UK. A 9-minute and 13-second episode where he's talking about video podcasting coming to Apple. And a warning, Neil is an Apple person through and through. So one thing that I've noticed when I listen to these experts in podcasting who are commenting the most about Apple video is most of the people are Apple people. So they have Apple devices, they love Apple, they promote Apple, they do everything Apple. And it's like Android doesn't exist in their minds and in their content. So as an Android user who's never listened to a podcast on Apple ever, I don't get this mentality. Maybe I am guilty of being an Android person who is the opposite then, and they would say the same of me from an Android point of view. But I've never been an Apple person. I've never owned a device created by Apple at all. We're listened to on Apple. You're listening to me right now on Apple. So I want to be on Apple. I want to connect with people on Apple. And I just don't drink the apple juice. That's really what it comes down to. But it doesn't say that the Apple products are bad. Not at all. They're just not what I would choose. And that's the beauty of the world, is we get choice. So I'm an Android person. So when I hear all these people talking, I haven't heard one person talk Android yet about all this. Apple has created for us, Android people, a way to access Apple podcasts through kind of like a bolt-on add-on feature that, they made, but nobody's talked about if that feature is going to work with any of this. So I'm just a little cautious that in this moment of Apple this, Apple video, Apple, everybody's Apple, that there's a whole portion of the world who is not Apple, who's going, and like, where do we fit into this? So, yeah. So is a lot of this is built around Apple technology, about new Apple iPhones and new this and new Apple TVs and Apple that. As a non-Apple person, is this going right over my head why everyone's so excited about Apple video? No, just keep that in mind. So yeah, Neil loves Apple, and you'll hear this in his podcast, any episode, all the time. And that's great. Neil, I'm happy for you. But here's a little clip from Neil's episode, most recent episode. In the show notes, you can go listen to the entire thing. Don't make any decisions on the clips that I'm pulling because they're not in full context, because you don't get to hear everything. I want you to go listen to all 9 minutes and 13 seconds of his episode. He's a great creator. He's got a radio background. He edits really interesting in his show. There's a lot of things that I love about his podcast, but the whole Apple thing, I'm kind of struggling with. But here we go.
Warning. The following opinions are based on someone that loves Apple podcasts and Apple products. Android users, you're on your own from this point forward.
But here, I think, is the point that everyone is missing. We can finally put paid to the "what is a podcast?" question. We no longer have audio being podcasts, and we no longer have, oh, yeah, but also video could be a podcast too, according to the new Merriam-Webster definition. All of that box, finally, we can lay that to rest, because now, officially, according to the granddaddy of podcasting, the OG platform, the birthplace of podcasting, Apple, podcast is now both audio and video. That's it. There's no video podcast. There's no audio podcast. There is podcast.
So this is where I get a little nervous, because if you don't want to do video, what happens to you? If you're not a video creator, if you have a sleep podcast that helps people fall asleep at night, and the idea of them being on their screen while trying to fall asleep to a sleep podcast is counterproductive. So, interesting. It just puts a little bit more pressure on podcasters, especially starting out, that video better be part of your strategy, because, video's a thing. Video's always been a thing, by the way. It's always been there on Apple. It has. And it needs to be said, because people think it's new, but it's not. So the idea that video is such an important part of podcasting now, I think is going to turn some people possibly away from even starting. And that makes me a little nervous. Let's go back to Neil.
And how you consume that podcast is the differentiator, because now you've got the choice of audio or video within the same piece of content. You can click a button and you can have either version.
So I want you to put a pin in that. I'm going to bring it back later, because there's another person who's going to give some more context to what Neil just said. Maybe expand a little bit more, because truth, there's when we talk about this kind of stuff in podcasting, there's no such thing as your own truth. There is only the truth. So anyway, let's go. I'll bring this back and you'll understand why, but let's continue.
So that's, first of all, why I'm really excited about this, because now we have one single definition for what a podcast will be. And as all the other hosting providers get on board, which they will, they did with transcripts, I think that argument of, it's only for a few platforms, a few podcast hosting companies, that will disappear quite quickly. The second thing I'm really happy about, I'll be honest, I've been shitting on video podcasting for the best part of 2 years, since everyone started getting excited about it, with YouTube saying, oh yeah, we're now going to add podcasts to our platform. They've never added podcasts to YouTube. They never have. They've added something that looks like podcasts, but it's never been a podcast. It has been video siloed within their own platform that they've described as podcasts. It's content. It's video. It's still video. It's not connected to the RSS feed in any way, shape, or form. They tried to get around that whole argument by appeasing lower-end creators by saying, yeah, you can ingest your RSS feed and get...
Whoa. Wait, what did he just say?
Appeasing lower-end creators.
Wait, lower-end creators? Again?
Appeasing lower-end creators.
I'm going to hope that Neil didn't really mean what he said there, because that sounds like gatekeeping. Podcasting is not about gatekeeping. It's what this show's about. It's why I come here every day in 2026. That one's sad. Anyways.
That whole argument by appeasing lower-end creators by saying, yeah, you can ingest your RSS feed and get audio-only versions of your podcast was a disaster. Nobody took it up.
My apologies to you as you listen to this show on YouTube and all of my 9 other shows that I host. That you just, apparently you don't exist. So thank you to the many, many people who engage with this show on YouTube through RSS ingestion, because apparently nobody's doing it. So I must be the only single person on the planet doing this. And now I'm getting a little bit perturbed. So I'm going to move on to somebody else. Thank you, Neil. Everyone go listen to Neil's episode. Give him some love. You, again, might totally agree with Neil on everything, and you're an Apple person. There you go. You got yourself a great new podcast to listen to. Neil, thank you. So now let's go to the other opposite end of this. Let's go to Cliff Ravenscraft, who is known as the podcast answer man. Podcast answer man. Anyway, he took a break from podcasting for a while. He's an OG in podcasting long before Neil and I combined. Okay. So, Cliff has come back to podcasting. Cliff is the complete opposite of Neil's point of view. So that's what I love. A balanced approach, right? Isn't this what we're supposed to do? Break out of our bubbles, everybody. So, yeah. So if you felt a little bit uneasy with the first clip, maybe this one will be you. Maybe this will make you uneasy and you like Neil better. I don't know. Welcome to choice. That's what this is all about. Different voices, different opinions, and we're still friends. We can still hang out and have a brew, as they call it in the UK. We call it a beer. We can do that, and we can be fine. So here is Cliff, who is adamant that audio podcasting should not be muddied with video podcasting. Should be separate. That's the way he likes it. That's the way it's been. So you're going to get Cliff. Cliff is very passionate, by the way. He is a very passionate person. I don't believe anything he says is scripted because he turns on the mic and he talks. And yeah, I've had many interactions with Cliff. He's a great human being. And yeah, so you might love this, you may not. But here's Cliff Ravenscraft with
this
his thoughts.
prevailing narrative that all of a sudden somehow we're all going to agree at some point in the future. We're all going to be forced to agree that a podcast is video first content and that RSS feeds really are a thing of the past. And I call baloney on both of those things. But with each of these video announcements, first with Spotify, now with Apple, I'm seeing more and more of this content being delivered that isn't happening within the RSS feed. Here's another clip to illustrate what I'm talking about.
But what Spotify currently, anyway, does is as soon as you upload the video version, the audio from that is your audio. The audio in your RSS feed
That's
is
where the
no
audio
longer
comes from. Yeah.
the audio in your RSS feed is ignored the moment you upload a video to Spotify.
So I told you I was bringing this clip
because
back.
now you've got the choice of audio or video
Neil.
within the same piece of content. You can click a button and you can have either version.
When you pick video in Spotify, it pulls the audio from the video. So whether you toggle back and forth, the audio version of your show on Spotify, it's ignored. The moment you upload a video and an audio of the same episode, 2 files, 1 video, 1 audio, to your RSS feed on Spotify, it defaults to the video. So you can have beautiful edits and sound effects in the audio version of your show, and then the video can just be a Zoom recording that you put out into the world. The Zoom recording is played on Spotify, not the fancy audio edit. So keep that in mind. Now, there's been talk about, is Apple doing that or not? We'll get to that in a second, but just keep that in mind. On Spotify specifically, the video and the audio, when somebody presses play on video and that says, I'm done watching the video, I'm going to move back to the audio in the same episode, it keeps the audio from the video, not from the podcast audio.
That just sounds crazy to me.
Anyways,
the audio in your RSS feed is ignored completely the minute you upload your video to Spotify. It just seems to me like there is this conditioning that's happening from these big content players. They want to condition us to stop thinking of our podcasts as being something that we own and distribute through our own RSS feeds. This is a very dangerous road. I really like what Leo Laporte says in this next clip.
So Darren has posted, is looking at the tech specs. So there are some tech specs. Apple says to use new HLS capabilities, you can't simply drop a video file onto your own web server and link an RSS feed. Instead, you must generate a unique API key within your Apple Podcasts Connect account and provide it to an approved hosting partner. The host then manages the complex HLS file chunking and playlist generation, sending that data directly to Apple via the API. So this is very proprietary. That's a non-starter.
proprietary walled garden.
As far as I'm concerned,
Sounds similar. Anyway.
To me, it's really important that podcasting be RSS. And
Agreed.
Right? Because that's an open
100%,
standard, open
100%.
format. You can't be spied on. You can't, no company owns it. It works.
And that's the whole thing. It works. There is no need for HLS. There was no need for Spotify to give us this switch back and forth in between thing and ignoring your RSS audio embedded file. This obsession with video is just blowing my mind. And it's one of the reasons why Podcast Answer Man is back, to be an advocate for the value of audio first content, and also an advocate for something like this, an audio only experience.
So we have a very clear point of reference there from Cliff. And Cliff, glad to have you back in podcasting. See, that's very adamant. Cliff is passionate about the audio version of podcasts, and that you don't have to buy cameras, and you don't have to buy all these things, and you don't have to have a studio, and you don't have to pay expensive video editing fees and all of that stuff. And if everybody has to do it one way, then I think we're going to see some people just say, well, podcasting isn't for me. And as a person who has a show called the How to Podcast series, if I come on here and tell you, you have to do video to be a podcaster, I think that's wrong. I think that's incorrect. And I don't think that's going to bring more people to podcasting. I think it's going to push some people away. So just keep it in mind. This show is not a video podcast. Sure, I have video elements. Sometimes I'll do video episodes with my guests. When I have time in the margins of life, I will do video. Am I missing some opportunities? Probably a ton. But I'm an audio first podcaster. Video second. Social media third. Blog posts 56th. I'm an audio podcaster first. And this is why I'm doing the show. This is why I love podcasting. I don't need to be on camera right now. I don't need to spend 4 to 10 hours editing a video of 30 minutes of content. No, I can go create multiple audio episodes in the time it takes you to edit one video. So, yeah, there's no way I'm going to do 365 episodes this year for the How to Podcast series in video and publish and edit both audio and video. No. So audio editing, audio podcasting, all of that still has value, no matter what any platform does. Just keep that in mind. There's room for you in podcasting. Let's continue. So now we jump over to a marathon episode with James Cridlin, creator of Pod News. Great magazine for podcasters. It's daily updates on the podcasting industry. They get a little techie, which is fine. If you're not into that, they have chapters you can skip. They do a weekly summary with Sam Sethi. James and Sam get together. And so this is a clip from their 2.5-hour episode, which is not their normal episode length. It's almost Joe Rogan length. Anyways, they get on and talk about this in a lot of detail. And I just pulled just a little spots here and there for you from the conversation. But Sam hits James with a question that makes James kind of go, oh, wow. So here we go. This is a little bit from their show. If you have 2.5 hours available this week to go listen to this, highly recommend you go check it out. Now here we go. James and Sam at Pod News for their weekly review, talking about Apple Podcasts and video. Boys.
This is not being delivered via RSS. It's being delivered by a special API key that only Apple gives out to those 4 so far. So the question is RSS dead then?
Wow, that was a step. So
yeah, that was a massive leap. I grant you, but throw it out there, see what happens.
Yeah. So no, you absolutely still need an RSS feed. Because that is where Apple gets the name of the the episode from, and the show notes from, and all of the other information that goes into your podcast. If you own an Apple HomePod, then firstly, why? And secondly, that will only read the MP3 files. And so there again, that's all that will do. And actually, weirdly, if you have an Apple TV, I know that we've just talked about video, but if you have an Apple TV, it won't do any of this stuff either. And so it will only read MP3s or MP4s. So with all of that, yes, absolutely, you still need the RSS feed. And in fact, you can't do video podcasting without an RSS feed. So the RSS feed is most certainly not going away. Now, the reason why Apple is doing HLS the way that it is doing is probably to do with billing and the advertising side. But the way that it basically works under the hood is you upload your video to your podcast host. That's probably, I don't know, let's say Acast. And Acast has a secret API that they can then submit to Apple and say, you know, this episode that we've just put on our RSS feed, here's the video for it. And that's basically how that bit works. So that means that other podcast apps will never see what that video file is. That means that if you use Overcast or Podcast Addict or Pocket Casts, then they won't see any of the video, and that's a bit sad. But nevertheless, that's the way that Apple has chosen to end up doing it.
So obviously, there's a lot more to that episode than that little clip. But interesting that Sam hits James with that right off the bat. So it's RSS dead. Wow. So there's a lot of concerns here. There's a lot of conversation around this, a lot of talk around Apple and video and everything. But one thing to keep in mind here that I find interesting, again, have you heard anybody say Android yet? No. Nobody said it, the word Android. And I'm like, wow. Like, talk about excluding a chunk of the world. I'm looking at my Android phone. I got a Google Pixel phone right in front of me. I am not an Apple person. And I just feel like second-class consumer in that everyone's just talking about Apple. I know it's Apple News. I know it's Apple Video. I get it. It's important. But come on. Like, if you're going to release something to the world, then release it to the world, not just a portion of the world. That's kind of my thought. And the other part is they talk about there's 4 hosting sites. I'm using that in broad terms. Hosting sites where they have special permission to be the host to deliver your video to Apple in this way. There have been video podcasts on Apple for a long time, distributed by podcast hosting sites like Blueberry and Libsyn, for example, and others. So that's been going on as well. But to get in this way, in this format, there's 4, again, hosting sites. They're actually ad networks that have hosting. So, just to pause here. There are hosting sites. There are hosting sites with ads. There are ad networks with hosting sites. These are all different types. The 4 that they've chosen as part of this announcement with Apple are basically tied to radio. In most cases, they're tied to radio and the radio way of making money with podcasts or with radio, the radio way of making money with ads, the radio way of doing everything. So it seems like Apple's leaning towards the radio side of the podcasting industry. And there's a portion, which is interesting, coming out where Apple wants to make money from your ads on your show. That's another piece to all this. Apple wants a piece of your money, the sponsorship money, if you have ads, which I don't. If you have ads, which are the big shows, by the way, not the majority of podcasts like this one, the big shows, they want a little piece of the pie. Apple is known for taking quite a big piece of the pie, actually. So just keep that in mind. That's another little piece, but, we'll let the experts fight over that one. So the last clip here is again with James, but he's on with Rob Greenlee. Rob Greenlee's been on this show. Rob has been around forever in podcasting, and he's a great guy. And he has always been the co-host of the New Media Show. And we've lost Todd Cochran, and Todd's no longer with us, sadly. And Rob's keeping the show going, which is great. Good job, Rob. And Rob is very responsive. He's a very thoughtful and caring voice in podcasting. I really respect Rob. And here's Rob with James now as a guest on Rob's show to kind of go in a little bit more additional detail. We'll wrap up with this. This is it. Links to all 4 of these different podcasts in the notes. I'd love for you to go check them out. Invest some time and learn. And I think it's just going to help you to understand this better. Because again, there's so much noise online right now. There's so many people making comments. There's so many people who don't really know fully what they're saying. You might say that I don't fully know what I'm saying, and that's good. Because again, I'm not an Apple person, so I don't have anything vested in this. So with Rob and James together, they kind of go a little bit more into this. This is the last segment, and then we'll wrap up. So here we go. So this is interesting because it goes back to what Neil said at the beginning about one toggle, video, audio, all in one place. It's all the same. Now, what James is saying, he's using ads as a way to kind of frame this, but there should be a difference between video and audio. And this toggle that allows you to go from a video podcast, audio podcast, back and forth within the same episode. If the audio is pulled from the video and not the audio is separate edit, then maybe there's something missing. And I love this example that James uses to kind of illustrate for us the difference. I think this is fabulous. This is really good. You need to listen to this. Here we go. Here's James.
Yeah, I mean, and I think from my point of view, radio ads and TV ads are different, right?
Yeah, right.
If you're going to talk about a new car in a TV ad, then you'll have a nice picture of the car weaving through some exciting Italian mountains and stuff like that. If you're going to talk about a new car in a radio ad, then you will have beautifully crafted words that do the same kind of job. What happens when you're just given the audio feed from a video is that it just won't work very well. It's not a very good experience. I'm quite sad that when you press that button that says don't show the video, it still plays the video, the audio from the video, if you see what I mean. Well, I'm quite sad that is actually happening, because I don't think that's going to be very good for the advertiser. It's certainly not going to be very good for the audience. And actually, the better podcast creators, and I've got an article coming up in Pod News all about this. The better podcast creators are producing different edits of their show.
That's exactly what I do with this show. So and it's unfortunately these platforms are encouraging kind of bad content editing practices.
So like if you're like me and you put a lot of time and effort into your audio edits, you want to make them as good as possible. And then you just take a Zoom recording video and throw that up as a video podcast. No editing. Just maybe you'll slap on the beginning music and the outro music, and that's it. Call it a day. Isn't it disappointing to know that some apps, not all, but some apps will just take the audio from the video and ignore all the time, effort, and passion you put into an audio edit to make it great for audio? Then think about, as well, the podcasters who do things like, well, I'm going to show you a picture here on my screen, and I want you to take a look at this. When you look at the blue chart here on the right, you'll see that the red chart there over on the left, the difference between the two. And I think it's outstanding, the difference between those two. And as we flip over to the next slide, you're going to see that, and you're like, Dave, what are you doing? Yeah, exactly. That is what's coming to you from the video portion of your podcast if you don't do an audio edit where you take all that crap out or you explain it better. The chart, the red, the blue, I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay? The color of my shirt, irrelevant right now because you can't see me. So to say that I don't need to edit my show is personally, for my show and from my opinion, a little lazy, especially when you have video crutch words that don't translate into audio speak. So back to Neil here for one last time.
Because now you've got the choice of audio or video within the same piece of content. You can click a button and you can have either version.
I would agree with Neil if the audio is for audio people and the video is for video people. It can't be one size fits all. And that's my point. Now, should you do video? If you come from a video background, you are far ahead of all podcasters in this conversation because you have the skill set, the tools, the training, the background. So do video. If that's what you want to do, then do video. Do it and do it well. Like, there are so many great resources out there. Do video, do it well. Go for it. Go for it. And be proud of what you're doing. Don't feel like you're doing something wrong, because you're not. You come to me with $100 and you say, Dave, I want to start a podcast and I have no idea what to do. I'm not going to get you to go out and buy a $600-$700 camera and go into debt for a new podcast idea. No. I still believe that starting with audio is a good start. No matter who adds video to what platform and when. I still believe in the power of audio. I still believe that podcasting should be kept free. So we've heard multiple people talk today on this episode from different perspectives. Again, ignoring Android, ignoring that part of the population, and just I just feel like if you're not an Apple, you're not a qualified creator. I don't like the idea of somebody thinking that somebody who connects their podcast to YouTube with RSS as an audio podcast is a lower end creator. I think that's a miss. And I just want people to understand that podcasting was meant for everybody. It's meant for everyone. You, me, people who agree with us and people who don't. It's meant for every voice. And it's meant to be something where nobody can tell you what you can and can't say. Podcasting is meant to be free and open. And the moment we bend our knee to any platform, any closed garden, we endanger the thing we love the most. So just keep that in mind. People in businesses are trying to make money off podcasting. They're trying to make money off your content, even if you don't qualify yourself for any of that money to come back to you. We are creating free content going out to platforms who then monetize it. They make money off what we do. That's how it works. That's how the world works. If you don't care about ads, then all of the features that come with Apple Video that benefit ad buyers really won't translate for you and it won't impact you. So don't worry about it. If you don't want to do video, then don't do video. If you want to do video, do video. My encouragement for new creators, do what you can with what you have, where you are. And let's just try to get along and let's not talk down to people. And let's try to build people up and give alternatives and get out of our bubbles. And Apple people, can you please talk to the Android people and address us? Android people, please don't ignore the Apple people. Like, can we just find some common ground here in podcasting where we're talking to everybody? We're trying to reach everyone that creates, not just a single portion of the space. And that's it. That's all I got. Watch the news and watch any of these 4 shows. There's going to be more content coming we're all learning here. This announcement's new. So don't go buying a lot of equipment yet. Don't sell anything. Just hang on and watch and wait, because there's more information to be coming out as this rolls out. This is going to be into March-ish, near the end of March, where Apple's going to even be a little bit more vocal. Right now, this is all in the testing phase. It's all early days. Just hang on before you go and blow a ton of money on video equipment. Just wait. You're fine. If you have any questions, reach out anytime. And to everyone that I've featured on the show today, thank you for your comments. Thank you for your shows. Thank you for what you do in podcasting. Because without you, this conversation couldn't happen. So thank you. Thanks for listening. Hey, it's Dave. Thank you for sticking around to the end. This is where we do our call to action, or pathway to engagement, as I like to call it. And here's what's interesting. I've been doing this podcast for years now, hosting meetups, helping podcasters, editing for people, doing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And when we have people who follow the show reach out to me and say, Dave, guess what? I'm like, what? They said, I just hired my first consultant. I'm going to go work with them and help me with my podcast. And I kind of go, wait a minute. You what? They're like, yeah, I found a podcast consultant and they're going to help me with my show. It's hard to pretend to be happy. Why? Because I want to work with you. Wait a minute. Dave, the guy, Dave, who's been doing the How to Podcast series and 8 other podcasts, and the guy that's been with you the whole time, and we've done meetups, we've done time together, we've spent time together, and you've hired somebody else. Now, maybe I'm not your person. That's okay. I'm totally fine with that, by the way. Keep coming back. I love having you here. But if you're like, well, I didn't hire you because you don't have anything like that, do you? And I do. And I have been for a long time. And I don't talk about it enough, apparently, because people are going to other people looking for things that Dave does. So, in the spirit of Dave, and in the spirit of making better connections with you, I do have personal coaching in podcasting. I have podcast community. I have all of the resources. I have all of the background, the history in podcasting, and the love for you as a fellow podcaster. If you're looking for a podcast coach, somebody who can walk with you, somebody who cares about you, someone who is your challenger, your cheerleader, and your coach. Because even though I've said on the show you can't be all three, I think I am. And I want to help you. So, howtopodcast.ca. Please, before you go searching anywhere else, come to where we started and where we met first, right here. I'd love to help you. howtopodcast.ca. Come reach out to me. I want to talk to you. Thanks. You're still here. Great. Okay, that was an interesting episode. Okay, so question came, Dave, I see you're doing 365 episodes this year. Why the heck are you doing so many episodes? Simple. I want to be in a creative space for 365 days straight. I want to show up online. I'm posting videos. I'm trying to engage with my audience every day. I'm creating content every day. I want to be in a creative space. Some of it is batch recording. Some of it is in the moment. I had another episode scheduled for this time slot today. I moved it to put this one in because of the news of Apple. I want to be in a creative space. I want to grow. I was getting to the point as a creator where I was starting to get comfortable and not as challenged as I wanted to be. So do I expect you to do 365 episodes in a row? Absolutely not. It's ridiculous to ask anybody to do that. But I'm asking you to put yourself into a place where if you're starting to get comfortable and it's starting to turn into a machine and you just kind of watch the machine work and you're not really in there tinkering anymore, it's time to tinker a little bit. with your schedule, with your creativity, putting yourself into a spot where you got to grow. So I'm putting myself into a spot where I have to grow. I got to show up. I got to do the thing. So that's why I'm doing it. Do I know that I'm flooding my audience with content? Yeah. But I also know they're not listening to every episode. I can see it in the stats. Some are hitting, some are getting very little listens at all. But there's a library of content for the person who shows up in 2027 next year. There's a whole world of content here with purpose, with intent, not created by AI, created by Dave, and it's there for them. So I'm creating for the people in the future, not just today. So if you feel overwhelmed with the amount of content, skip. Look at the show episode titles and skip the ones that don't mean anything to you. That's fine. Not every episode is for you. I'm thinking of you in every episode, but it might not work for you. So pick the ones that work for you, skip the rest, and don't feel threatened or overwhelmed by how many episodes are coming. It's just me playing with podcasts. And I'm encouraging you to play more often, because the more you play, the more you're going to learn and the more you're going to grow. Thanks for being here.